So we're going to start putting linen out on these tables. So I went and got a pack of tablecloths. These are 10 per package. These are 71-inch square white linen. That's what we ordered specifically for these 48-inch tables. And it comes 10 to a pack. And I have napkins here. These come 100 to a pack. Right now we're using these green color. So let's get the tablecloth on. First thing you have to do is, number one, make sure the tablecloth is clean. Second, you have to make sure you put it on right side up, not upside down. So, if you can see this one, this isn't very clean. Little yellow stains on there. It's pretty common that what we get isn't very good. But this is practice, so we're going to use it. We put these stained ones to the side, and we use them on things like buffets or check-in tables that don't really matter. In real life, you would return them to the linen company and get a refund because they're pretty unacceptable looking tablecloths. So, just going to throw it up there, spread it around, and now we're going to see. So, I'm going to do this. Going to check all four sides. So first, right side up. Is it straight? So it's resting on this chair, resting on this chair, just barely touching this chair, so I'll fix that. Resting on this chair. Go back around. And then take a look at it from a distance. Looks pretty straight. Okay? So that's first. So that's what we're going to do when it comes time to cover the tables. Just pop one on each table. And we'll come back and cover it. Now, let's talk napkins. We're going to figure out our napkin fold for this luncheon. And we're going to go with a pretty standard tent fold. They're easy. They're stackable. They can be done in advance and stored. And this is what we use in the Greenway restaurant for daytime dining service. At nighttime, we might use something a little fancier, but this is going to work. So, never actually done a napkin fold video. Can't think of anything more exciting. But here we are. Same thing. So we're going to start here. That looked clean. That looks like crap. Next one, not much better, but it's just practice. So step one, you have to decide whether the fold begins with the napkin upside down or right side up. And there's no wrong answer. It depends on the fold. For this fold, we're going to start with the napkin upside down. And we're going to go from a square napkin by folding it here to a triangle, flatten. Now we're going to go from a triangle to a diamond by pulling the ends down. Here's one, here's two. Flatten. Gently flip it, fold it back, leave it a little short, and then close it up. Okay? So what you have is a nice looking napkin with a nice pleat. And when I left it a little short, nothing's falling out the bottom. This would go right here, center of the setting. Let's do another one. Upside down, square to triangle, flatten, pull the ends down to a diamond, flatten, flip the whole thing, bring it back, leave it short, close it up. I'll do it. Okay, so we have our linen down, we have our napkins in place. Now we have to set the table with silverware, flatware, serviceware, glassware, all the things we need for the guests to be able to eat the lunch. So how do you figure out how to set the table? Start with the menu. So for our example, here's our menu, and this is probably very typical of what we would be serving in the spring and summer here at the Greenway. Guests would sit down and have some bread and butter, bread made from our bake shop, and then their entree, they would have a menu. They would select possibly a choice of salad or just one salad for everybody. They would get a choice of up to 6 entrees, and then we would have a set dessert, so we'll just call it cake of some sort, And then the beverages they would be getting throughout the meal would be start with ice water. They could have iced tea if they liked. And at the end of the meal, we offer hot coffee, hot tea, and decaf. So based on that menu, we're going to come up with the setting for the table. So I went and gathered all the silverware we need here. And we'll go through this item by item. If you're not sure for each event you're going to cater or cover, just start with the menu, okay? So starting with the bread and butter, we want a bread plate. And we're going to get a butter spreader or butter knife or a small little knife. So that's what we'll do with that course. Second course, salad. So we're going to start with the salad fork. We only have 2 types of forks here. You can call it a small fork or whatever you want. They get a small fork. And we're going to set a knife for them. Because even though the chef said salad, unless it's a chopped salad like Caesar, they may need a knife. There might be some large green things there. So we will set a knife for that salad. Whether they use it or not, it doesn't matter. When we take away the salad, we'll take away that knife. Okay? Main course, you're going to get a large fork and a knife also. Now you might think we already have a knife, but that's the knife for salad. This is the knife for entree. So they get that and they'll get that. Okay? Cake, you guessed it, small fork again. They get one of those. Okay? Now, when it comes to drinks, water, we don't have the glassware out here yet, but we will. They're going to get a water glass. Iced tea, they're going to get a larger glass for iced tea. We don't have that here yet, coming. But for iced tea, they're also going to get an iced tea spoon, which is a very tall spoon, specifically to stir iced tea. For comparison, it's that much bigger than a normal teaspoon. So we're going to give them an iced tea spoon. And then for coffee, we won't put the cup and saucer yet because they don't need it yet. Coffee doesn't come till later. But we would put out a coffee spoon, also known as a teaspoon. So these are the items that we would select for this meal. So this is the easiest way to do it, step by step. Now, we know what we need. Next question is, where's it going to go? Okay, so now we'll start setting our tables. So I got some hot water. I fetched all the silverware we need and the bread plates. I got a clean sanitized towel from the dish, from the washer and dryer, and now we're going to set these. So when we do the dining room here, it works like this. One student would do one item, meaning they would do all the knives on all the tables. Another student would do all the large forks on all the tables. We're only setting one, so I'm going to just sort of grab a handful and go that way. So we will grab our silverware, dip it in the water a little bit. This isn't cleaning it. This is just taking off water spots. And we're going to wipe and walk at the same time. There's no reason to have people standing there and polishing and talking. They're just not going to get the work done. So we wipe and we walk. And we'll get the knives down. So I'm putting 2 knives side by side. Knives go to the right side of the setting. The silverware should be no wider than the back of the chair. And that allows for the plate to fit in. I've already pre-measured the salad plate, so I know how big we need the space to be in order to get the salad down on the table. And the salad is the first thing we are going to serve. Large forks, I only need 4. I have my smaller forks, which will be used for 2 things, for salad and for cake. So I'm going to put them both out at the same time. Salad's going to go to the left of the knife. The cake is going to go up top because it's out of the way, because we're not serving cake till later. Then I need 4 teaspoons. These are going to be for coffee. These are also not till later. So these are going to go up top, and these are going to be nested up there. So they're as tight as possible, taking up as little space. So we have a lot of room on the table for other things. And hopefully, if we leave them up there, the guests won't use them for something silly like stirring salad. And we won't need to go for them later. Okay? Next is the bread plates. I can't really dip these in here because they're too big, but my towel's a little bit damp enough just to knock any water spots off. So we're going to get those bread plates in. And they will get a bread knife as well. This is just going to sit right on top of the bread plate. The cutting edge going left. When we set the dinner knives and the salad knives, those cutting edges were going into the setting. That's the proper setting there. Because we have them here, we'll put out our iced teaspoons. Now, there's no real rule on how these go out as opposed to the forks and the knives because they have a location. It's pretty much mandatory, as you're going to see as you read your textbook and answer some quizzes. We're putting these iced teaspoons up here because they're out of the way and the people can help themselves. So, that's our setup. All right, so I went ahead and got the glassware. So this is the way we set our dining room. Doesn't mean it's the way everyone has to do it, but there are some general rules. The glasses do go to the right, so we're going to put the glasses above the knives. But more importantly, we want them to square the table out. So they may not be perfectly the same spot every place in relation to the knife, but if you looked at the table, it would be an X. Now, what we do for our iced tea glasses is we turn them upside down like this, right in the center, leaving enough room in the middle for a flower vase. And then we'll put a little stack of straws here. Yes, we use straws because people like them. And that's what our glassware setup would look like. So this is about all we could set now. Later on, we'll be setting things like salt and peppers and sugars, etc. So one final note on this setup and this method. This was set up in the pre-COVID world, pre-COVID, meaning that's how we set tables. Somewhere in the future, there may not even be tables set. I think when restaurants are allowed to reopen, obviously, gloves would be used for everything. And I sure hope not, but this might be what a set table looks like in the future. You get a pre-approved government-sealed bag of sanitized flatware. It just screams fancy. Spellman, out. Okay, so while you still have your silverware in the room and your hot water for polishing and your towel for polishing and you still have your napkins here, this is the time to go ahead and set up our backup silverware plates. So what that means is in case one of the guests drops a fork or knife or something, we don't need to run to the kitchen for it. We'll have extra silverware right here in the dining room, fully polished, ready to present to the guests. So let's take a look at that. So I've got a round plate here. This is our largest entree plate. That's going to be for the silverware. Then I have a square entree plate. This is going to be for our steak knives. So let's go ahead and show you the fold. So like before, you have to decide whether the fold starts with the napkin upside down or right side up. In this case, again, we're going to do upside down. So first thing we're going to do to make this fold to hold the silverware in the silverware backup plate. Take the top part of the napkin, come down about 4 inches. Take the bottom part of the napkin, come up about 4 inches. Then take the new bottom and cover the top seam. Okay, so now it's starting to make a pocket without any seams shown. Fold one end under. Fold the other end under gently. And then we'll place that right here on the plate. That's a little long, so I'm just going to shorten it a touch. Okay, so now we have a little pocket to slide silverware in. So we'll make sure that we put in that plate all of the silverware that's on the table. So we're going to need some big forks, small forks, teaspoon, knives, butter knives, iced teaspoons. So again, you just get a few of these, 3 or 4 of each, dip them in your hot water, give them a little polish. All right? And what's important is you have to put the eating end in so that when you take these out and give them to the guests, you won't have to touch the eating part. So I did some big forks, and some small forks. We do about 4 or 5 of each. If you had a big crowd coming, we would probably make 2 separate plates of backup silverware. Got some teaspoons. And some knives. I'm only going to do 3. Bread knives. And iced teaspoons. So that's everything that's on the table. So we have whatever they could possibly drop ready to go right here in a backup plate. And this plate will rest up on the bar. And the server would bring this right to the table and give the person whatever it is that they dropped. Your knife, sir. That's what we do with this backup silverware plate. Now, the backup steak knives. Same thing, napkin fold. Upside down. Fold the top down about 4 inches. Fold the top up about 4 inches. Fold the new bottom over the seam to hide it. And then we will fold the ends under to make a pocket. This one we put on the big square plate because the steak knives fit well there. So we don't set steak knives on the table. These are put out in case guests order entrees that might require such a knife. Not every semester do we have something that requires a steak knife. But if we had something like a pork chop or an actual steak or filet mignon or something like that, and the chef deems he or she wants a steak knife, then this is what we'll do. We'll make steak knife plate. So you have to be real careful with these because obviously they're very sharp, and you have to be really careful to clean them nicely so you don't see any crud, because when you place this down on the guest's table just before the main course comes out, you know they're going to look closely at this. And if it's cruddy, that means you serve crud in your restaurant, and it's not something you want to advertise. So just clean them nicely, take your time, especially look at the top where the wood meets the metal and make sure there's no junk or gunk in there. Okay, that's 7, that's 6. Those plates hold 8 perfectly. So you may need 2 of these made for a typical lunch in our dining room where we could have about 40 people. 16 is probably a good number. And 8. So I didn't fold the napkin all wide enough to fit all 8 in, but I would just fix that. So this would go on top of the bar also, and waiters would bring this to the table before the main course comes out, and they would give the guests a steak knife. Excuse me, sir. and at the same time take away the knife that they don't now need, which is the one we originally set for main course. Okay? So these steak knife plates are complete. Going to give you a close-up of that napkin fold for the silverware backup plates. Take the top, we start upside down. You can see the seam here. Take the top down about 4 inches. Take the bottom up about 4 inches. And take the new bottom and cover that top seam. You fold the end under gently. Fold the other end under gently. And we've created a pocket. And this is going to go right on the plate here. And this is where we put the silverware and the knives, down in the pocket. So when the waiter carries it to the table, they're able to take them out. And let's show you that other fold, the tent fold that we use for the dining room tables. So we're going to start with the napkin upside down. We're going to go from square to triangle with one fold. Flatten it out. We're going to go from triangle down to diamond by pulling this end down, pulling this end down, flattening. Okay, nice straight line there. Gently flip the whole thing over and pull all the ends back, where all these ends are. But this comes back. Okay, flatten it out. It's really important to make sure you leave that short and don't come right to the edge, because then when you close it like this, nothing will be falling at the bottom. And this is the fold. It has a nice little seam, and this would get set on the guest's table, just like that. These are very stackable. You can make them in advance. It's an easy, simple fold.